Directed energy weapons, an indispensable tool of the Great Reset. Globalist governments are now frequently using them against their own people in non-combat urban environments. Large-scale weaponry is being used to destroy entire cities, and smaller-scale weaponry is being installed around the world as well as right here in New Zealand. Today, Mark Steele, UK direct energy weapons expert, speaks about how an international mesh network for control and depopulation of humanity has been established through the new LED streetlight system. And how the DARPA hydrogel and the self-assembling nanoparticles in the jab, PCR tests and nanosprays are creating an antenna and receiver system inside the human body. A system that receives its instruction through the exact optical frequencies being emitted from these new streetlights.
Injected illegally to track people with 5G network.
Thank you, government.
Sit on.
Ah, yeah, can I?
Yeah. Because it's pulling on the metal that's in your arm.
Yeah.
We also discuss the CIA's theft of a recombinant turbo-cancer weapon involving the partnership of 5G and the fake vaccine, and their murder of those employed to create it.
Well, that is an illegal piece of equipment. This can target acquire. It's radar.
We take a look at the sudden increase of fatal atonic seizures and their causation, and also the frightening and highly censored phenomena of what have become known as COVID jab spiral of death seizures as a result of targeted corkscrew 5G radiation emission. We also visit another aspect of the control and depopulation agenda, how local councils are being forced into bankruptcy, crippling debt and utter subjugation so that they can then be forced to implement further mechanisms to continue the agenda. But most importantly, we discuss solutions to push back against the evils being perpetrated upon us.
That's why we made the presence of a new variant that could do that.
Go back your boroughs, go back your cities, your towns, grow your numbers, grow your resistance, take the mask off, it's your votes.
Welcome, Mark. It's great to see you again, all the way from the sunny UK.
Well, thanks for having me back on, Samantha. It was really interesting the last time we had a chat. But it's as you can see, it's sunny here in the United Kingdom today. No thanks to the massive amounts of chemtrail and geoengineering that we're suffering at this part of the world as well. Must be costing absolute trillions.
I know. Can you imagine?
This global geoengineering project must be costing absolute fortunes.
Isn't it nice of them to spend that much money on us, though, even if it is just to get rid of us? Anyway, for those of us who don't know much about you, would you mind giving us a quick rundown on what it is that you do and how you came to be doing it?
I'm a mechanical engineer, right, who studied fracture mechanics. So I understand about covalent bonds and modulated frequencies that cause fracture. So that's basically my scientific background. However, I then was fortunate to be involved in the secret weapons program, and I was exposed to a number of different issues in relation to non-ionizing radiation, which someone who has a basic physics degree would tell you is perfectly safe. It's not enough energy in that part of the spectrum, which is absolute horseshit. And the reason why it cuts stainless steel with lasers. So weaponry, I know quite a bit about the directional weapons, but I then became a patent writer and I started patenting and developing products. I've worked on a number of research and development projects. I've worked on a number of different weapons programs. So my expertise in research and work and bringing products to market was all in and around mitigating directional weapon systems on a battlefield.
Excellent. Because I'd very much like to talk about direct energy weapons today. There is some incredible ones out there on the battlefield, massive laser weapons created to be a cheaper alternative to missiles, capable of hitting a coin from a kilometre at only $20 a shot, microwave weapons, EMF sonar weapons, some capable of creating storms and earthquakes, some mounted on ships, some on land-based vehicles, some on aeroplanes, drones, of course. some that can take out power or even just target the internet, some that can burn down cities so fiercely that no amount of human effort could save them. And today, direct energy weapons are being deployed in urban civilian environments, as we saw recently in the utter horror that was inflicted on Maui when it dared to defy the globalists, as Turkey did right before its recent devastating earthquakes, when the USS Nietzsche paid them a visit. And now it looks as if the same's happening in Texas as well as California in the past. Anyway, here's some footage of such weapons being deployed.
What the is that, dude? What? That's it.
There's also been a lot of evidence that Antarctica appears to accommodate directed energy weapons. In April 2024, this massive emission of what appears to be ELF or EMF waves was launched from Antarctica and was captured on weather radar maps. It moved northwards over the course of a few days until it eventually dispersed over or into the Atlantic Ocean. Although it was removed from official weather maps in real time, enormous wave height was reported, immediately followed by that area becoming a dead zone reporting zero activity. And on top of this, as we'll talk about, we're now seeing permanent installation of direct energy weapons on our street furniture. It was discovered recently that the ULEZ cameras, the traffic filter cameras there in the UK, are not as harmless as was first thought. I'm going to run a little bit of a video where you yourself talked about this discovery.
Hi everybody. Well, this one's caused a bit of a fuss, hasn't it, right across the country? Not an ENPR camera, I can guarantee you. Okay, it's a multi-fusion photon ionizing radiation radar gun. They're extremely dangerous. Embedded assets for many, many years are going to tell you that that's an ENPR camera, and I'm going to tell you it's not. I know exactly what an ENPR camera is, and that is not one. Okay, they're dangerous enough. This thing's lethal. Okay, it's for the C40 city extermination plan. Okay, so when they shut down the ULEZ, they're not going to remove the weapon. They need to be removed. It's absolutely crucial. This is all interconnected with a 5G mesh network, 5G wireless body area network, and it's all part of a depopulation, globalist depopulation agenda.
And there was another short video that you posted a little while ago of LED incapacitator weapons, aka puke rays, mounted on streetlights in the UK. I'll play a bit of that and then we'll look at how they're actually here in New Zealand too.
Just have a look at this one there. See that there? Right, now, a lot of people call us conspiracy theorists. What I'm going to tell you, that is a directional offensive weapon. Okay, it was developed by the DoD, right, funded. Look at it pulsing. You see those pulses? See it pulsing? Extremely dangerous. So what they're doing, right, that causes neurological damage. Do not look at them, okay? It causes pressure on the brain, and that can actually, basically, they're lethal. These are supposed to be non-lethal weapons. They are lethal, by the way, because you can have a stroke. It can cause you a major problem. Obviously, don't like me videoing this. This is what you get. See now, they're all over the place.
I actually made a documentary a while ago called Unmasking the Smart City Agenda. It's available to view on the Counterspin Media channel on InfoWars. And on it, I talked about how LED incapacitators were being installed in urban street furniture in Canada and other places, and how I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing them pop up in New Zealand. Some people told me I was off my rocker, as you said, told me I was a conspiracy theorist. But what do you know? Looks like yet another conspiracy theory is coming true. Just so people know what I'm talking about here, LED incapacitators are a direct energy light weapon designed by, as you said, the US Department of Defense. And they basically cause the victim to be incapacitated, just violently ill, vomit, just be a big old mess. But as you said, not only do they incapacitate, not only do they cause intense nausea and loss of vision, but they also can cause intracranial swelling, which is highly dangerous. And yes, they've proven to be capable of causing death. In some parts of the world, police have been equipped with puke ray flashlights, but now we're seeing them fitted onto urban street furniture with no explanation or even making the public aware. It appears to me that we're now seeing them on streetlights here in New Zealand. This picture here is from the square in Christchurch, with this particular one being aimed directly at where people gather. I've heard reports of them being in Auckland and Wellington too. In fact, actually, if anyone out there watching this spots one of these, they're quite distinctive because of the RGB bulbs. They're usually round in shape. Please send through photos to me if you can, or just send them to Counterspin Media. I've heard that they're on K Road in Auckland and downtown Wellington. These things are nothing but weapons. They have no other purpose. So you have to wonder why they're being installed on streetlights. I can't help but think that in addition to causing sickness, they could be deployed at full strength to control an uprising, which makes you think they must be expecting an uprising. And if so, why would that be? What do they believe could cause that? What's ahead? So, yeah, there's the acute offensive harm, but as you've explained, there's also just the fact that we're under constant optical radiation that's officially deemed to be at levels that are harmful to humans, and we're being lied to and told that it's safe.
Your government will tell you don't lie in the sun too much or you'll get skin cancer. Yeah. They'll then tell you that the same optical radiation that you're exposed to, the man-made stuff, which is extremely dangerous because of its modulated frequencies, your government will tell you that it's perfectly safe. But they'll also, on the other hand, they'll tell you that natural occurrence, which you're symbiotic and have been on this planet for however many years, right, it is a problem and you need to be careful about it. But don't worry about the man-made pulse modulated quadrature amplitude modulated stuff, the stuff that's really like GMO, that's really toxic. Don't worry about it, that's perfectly safe. So I knew about the whole bullshit narrative. Wasn't too difficult for me to link the micro 5G network that was installed into streetlights across the world as what was causing nosebleeds, cancer increases, etc. When I spoke out about that, obviously I came under a massive amount of nefarious, accusations, etc. It's all basically a way to try and discredit people. And what I discovered, mainly due to the fact of my understanding of optical radiation and the actual hazard that it is, everybody knows, anybody in a lighting department will know that optical radiation poses a hazard to people, man-made in particular. So we had sick building syndrome that was caused during a certain modulated frequency from fluorescent lamps. It's well documented information. Obviously, they try and keep it out of the public domain. But scientists in the field should know, would know, 7,000 Kelvin. So you've got a large temperature increase of optical radiation. What I discovered was these LEDs had a small transmitter on the top, basically a control light management system, as the councils were attempting to reduce their energy by reducing the light frequency. So these were basically urban radar, because if I can modulate a light frequency, I can weaponize it. So basically what the council done, it fitted a weapon to the street, they fitted the weapons capability to an LED streetlight. Okay, right. As time went on, I then eventually got my hands on the technology that they'd installed in the streetlight, And I was shocked to find out that it was actually part of a target acquisition weapon system. And the antenna itself had the capability to focus an energy beam at a target. So it could see a target, it could shoot at a target. So I knew that what we're really going on, what we're going through is basically an attack.
Which antenna? Which piece are you talking about there?
This is the one that was on top of the streetlights.
The bump thing that we're seeing as part of the control management system on the top.
Yeah, the masquerade them as light sensors. The masquerade them. I mean, the ones we had were blatant. They were an 868 twig, just had a housing over the top.
I'm gonna first of all, take this piece, this antenna piece to pieces. All right, people have seen it before. They've seen the breakdown. All right. Let's just unloosen this piece here. All right, let's just break this down and let's show people what this is. All right, this is the Harvard piece of technology. Obviously, that's the antenna. That's a scanner, it's radar. It's a radar piece of equipment. You can see that. This has got the 450 volt capacitor on it. And you see the cabling. It's really important to see that cabling. This is the delivery system, all right? This is an extremely dangerous piece of hardware. This is a single element, and they're 31,875. The councils are lying about what this is. Let's just show people this is not a dipole antenna. Look, it's a high gain dielectric lens antenna, all right? It's in a little bit better shape than the other one that we've shown the video on. But that is an illegal piece of equipment. It's not a Part 15 FCC approved piece of equipment. This can target acquire. It's radar. That's a scanner. All right, it's a scanning antenna. They are illegal. Anybody thinks that councils have the right to scan into your home are mistaken. That's an offence in law. All right.
When I got my hands on it, it had a dielectric lens on the end, like a small teardrop. That teardrop allowed focality in air. The ones I'm working on a case in Birmingham at the minute, the local authority have fitted 107,000 of these transmitters. They're a plate lens, and it has an aperture. The plate lens has an aperture which allows the same focality. Now, obviously, that focus could be at another receiver, but it could also just be as easily shot at someone fortunate who's had a receiver injected into them. You know what I'm talking about. The thing that Matt Hancock's admitted, he said it was a chip. Well, it wasn't a chip. It's basically just part of the technological play for the interconnection with 5G.
Actually, seeing you mentioned Matt Hancock, I'm just going to have to stop you there so we can listen to him in another short video that I pinched off your Facebook page. It's priceless.
We've always known that one of the things that has the potential to knock us off track would be a new variant. That's why we made the presence of a new variant that could do that one.
Wow. It amazes me, though, that this made it to air, Mark. There is no way that would have happened in New Zealand. Our media is so tightly controlled. It would never have got out. But yeah, good on him for being so honest. He's been a big help to the cause, actually, old Matt Hancock. Bless him. But yeah, it's not a chip. Maybe the digital ID is looking a bit that way, but I don't think Matt quite understands the tech in the jab, the programmable hydrogel that receives its instructions from frequencies, the self-assembling nanotech, the full picture of how they're implementing biodigital and bioneural convergence for the purposes of depopulation, yes, but also to create a transhuman hive mind, a hive species, really, that they control, that they are God over, via the mesh net provided by our streetlights. You have to think about the coincidence of the 5G towers going up all over the world right before the jab, and these streetlights going up all over the world at the same time, which operate at the very same specific frequency that communicates with the DARPA hydrogel in the jab. You see, the towers themselves don't provide the kind of blanket coverage required for the operational system of this hive mind, where they literally control our very thoughts. through reward and deprivation. We basically live virtually in the metaverse while physically living in a pod. Sent out to slave during the day and back to your pod at night to escape your misery in the metaverse. I mean, that's why Noah Harari came right out and said humans are hackable animals. He wasn't lying. He knows what's in the jab. And it's no surprise at all that it's his nation of Israel that's leading the way in the field of transhumanism. I know this stuff sounds really far-fetched, but it's actually all there in black and white. You can read it in the UN 100 initiative called Remaking the World in the Age of Global Enlightenment. Like most UN initiatives, that title's an absolute inversion of the truth. It's actually about unenlightening you and reducing you to an enslaved contributor to the AI world, a bot in a pod, basically. People need to learn up about what the UN calls the AI World Society. It's more than I've got time to go into here, but hopefully one day I'll have more time to talk about it. It's hugely important that we know about it. And at this stage, it's still relatively unknown. Anyway, Mark, tell me, how do you think it is that they get these minions like Matt Hancock to go along with all of this when, as he's displayed, they know it's all a lie?
Yeah, elites probably think that this 5G network's going to monitor, control, monetize. Bill Gates definitely thinks it's going to monetize. He's going to create a cryptocurrency on the back of it, your motion, your movement, your energy back to the grid. And how they're doing that, I mean, I did a video the other day with a girl who actually was emitting an electrical charge. I tested her with a meter and she had a major electrical charge emitting from the injection site. So quite interesting times. But you know, going on about cancer, see, one of the things that these elitists are trying to achieve is this AI control of humanity. Now, what I'm going to say to people, that the brutality of the equipment, you won't survive. It is a myth. It's like the chips in the dog. All your dogs are getting cancer. Now, prior to, you had Wi-Fi deck phones. Dogs didn't all die of cancer. They then start chipping them, right? It's basically radio frequency identity tag. When you start, if you have an RFID, so let's say you have some poor individual who's got an aluminium pin in their bone structure, in their jaw, you know, maybe a plate in the head or a knee, like ex-veterans, like the veterans who've got a lot of fixtures and fittings. This increases the toxicity, especially because it's inside the body, because it reflects as the radiation travels through you, it reflects and you become a localized antenna. Well, you're emitting radiation internally, so consequently, it'll kill you. Your body, your cellular structure is made up of, you know, it's so interconnected in a very, very small power way. From the power usage, you've got this absolutely brutal, significantly higher amount of energy that they're trying to pour into the body to control you. Well, it'll just destroy your cells. You'll suffer oxidative stress, as we see with the LEDs. The LEDs cause retinal cell stress. You've got them in all the new vehicles driving forward. These new LEDs that are put up all over the place are basically lethal and will increase the cancers. But there's more nefarious parts to it.
Yeah, well, the WHO tells us to expect an increase in cancer by 77% in the next few years. Probably going to be way more, way sooner. But they're trying to cover up for it by saying it's going to happen because of air pollution, even with all the green tech that we've been forced to invest in, and because of our diet. Oh, and the climate, of course. I mean, but what's even more insane than that theory is the fact that people believe it. And it's funny that you mention about dogs being chipped, because isn't it interesting that now that our cats have to be chipped, they do all over the world now, for what, in case they get lost? No. The World Economic Forum said they don't want people owning pets. And so now our captured councils require them to be chipped. And all of a sudden, people are talking about sudden death syndrome in cats and how their cats just suddenly drop dead without even being sick. I mean,
in a cat, in a dog, I can see, you see, if I want to get a better resolution for an attack, the best thing I can inject somebody with is these metamaterial antennas. So basically small they're not even microscopic, they're nanoscopic materials. And what you do is you inject them into the body, they then come back together, they'll have some magnetic properties, so then they can amass together, so then I can get some type of some reflection, basically a better resolution for the radar scanner. The problem that you have, you see, you've got a lot of these scientists sitting in these labs going, oh, I've got this great idea, we can do this, this, and this, and this. What they're not looking at is the biological damage that will be done. I mean, I know that nanoparticulates, high explosives cause nanoparticulates to occur. Soldiers that are exposed to them get cancers. And if you cut into the center of this massive fungus type material, you'll find there's a disturbance in the center. And if you look at that disturbance on an electron microscope image, you'll find nanoparticulates. So nanoparticulates aren't safe. We've been injecting them into people over the last couple of years. They've been banging them in, and we start spraying them out the sky, breathing them in and them going through your body. Believe me, make no mistake about it, you've got a defensive mechanism. But if you get them injected into your system and you tacitly agree, that's a whole other issue. So even your ICNIRP, this is the global regulatory body, states that anybody who's exposed to electromagnetic radiation and they've got any of these implants, that they have to be dealt with separately, because there's a significant risk where possibly to an ordinary person is a risk, but not a major risk. So they've just injected the world's population with those metal contaminant parts. So obviously people are going to die. Now, we've already seen a massive increase from the start prior to this pandemic in 2019, when you saw the major switch on of 5G. This is just the blanket coverage, not the surgical weapon. Some people get mistaken. There's a number of different parts to 5G. So you've got a 5G masquerading as a telecommunications system, and that's what was switched on in 2019. Because of the radiation level increases, we saw massive increases in sickness. These are government data. We've got massive increases in cancer. I mean, cancer rates have went from 1 in 50 to 1 in 2. And, you know, we're warned about electromagnetic radiation pollution. All of the science says that it's carcinogenic. And your governments and your regulatory health bodies are part of a conspiracy, because they're not mentioning it. Why aren't they investigating? Why is there an epidemic in people under 50 getting cancer?
Well, could be due to the fact that our global cancer data gathering and reporting agencies, for example, the one most picked up on by MSM outlets, the IARC, International Agency for Research on Cancer, is a WHO agency governed by the World Health Organization. But the word is definitely getting out, with even mainstream media in some places being forced to acknowledge the sudden arrival of what's been coined turbo cancer.
Turbo cancer, it's a recent term. It arose in the public domain, and it really describes aggressive cancers that are arising in COVID-vaccinated individuals. It's showing up in young people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. The youngest case that I've reported was a 12-year-old boy who had one Moderna vaccine. 4 months later develops stage 4 brain cancer, and then 6 months later he died. And so this is something I've never seen before in my career. I've diagnosed probably 20,000 cancer patients in my career. I've never seen cancers behaving like this, and they grow very, very rapidly, and they present at a late stage.
A 14-year-old girl is battling stage 3 brain cancer.
She was diagnosed with breast cancer that spread to her lymph nodes. Sadia is only 36.
At the age of 34, she was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer and with no family history.
According to the numbers from a newly released study, a growing trend of younger people who are being diagnosed with late-stage cancer.
Researchers say they're finding more people, some as young as 30, with late-stage colon cancer.
A new study finds that late-stage cervical cancer cases are on the rise in the United States.
Kyle Limper was seemingly a healthy 16-year-old. He complained that his back was hurting. And when the pain didn't go away, they took him to urgent care and then over to Jefferson Hospital. And that's where doctors broke the news to Kyle's parents that his organs were shutting down due to leukemia. And within 24 hours of diagnosis, Kyle passed away.
Just a month ago, Macy and her family found out she was diagnosed with grade 3 anaplastic meningioma, an aggressive brain tumor.
My life was normal, and then a month ago, they found the mass.
Colon cancer at 40. It turns out Jones's cancer was bigger and had spread farther than doctors first thought. His story is becoming more common.
It's the faster rise, especially in these colorectal cancers and bile duct cancers and breast cancers.
Colon, esophagus, kidney, liver, and pancreas, along with others.
The scariest thing about that is that we actually don't know what is driving this uptick.
All in the healthcare community going, what's going on here?
What's going on here? She asks. My goodness, seriously, how many times have we heard the words, doctors are baffled recently, please? The huge numbers that they're reporting is still probably far less than the true numbers because they're being reported by agencies beholden to the perpetrators. And of course, they ultimately blame this rise in cancers and other health damage on climate change, on air pollution's effects on the climate. Failing to mention, of course, that the air pollution that's really actually killing us is the stuff that they're spraying up there. They also point to alcohol, tobacco, and obesity too, but those things are not even factors in most turbo cancer victims, so that only really leaves climate, which even though it's cooler than it has been in many decades, is suffering and heating up because of us and our cars and those damn fossil fuels, deceptively named because oil is a constantly regenerating substance. So, if we just drive an electric car, stop cooking food, and just freeze to death, if we just listen to the experts, there wouldn't be as much cancer. So it's our fault. We've really only got ourselves to blame. It stuns me that the world actually believes this crap. But just to pick up on something you said there, Mark, I've read that tungsten nanoparticulates were found in flu vaccines as early as 2017. And what I believe you just said a minute ago is that this cancer increase was not due to the COVID fake vaccine alone, but that it actually began in 2019 when 5G was first installed and radiation levels increased, before the COVID jab.
This was prior to, obviously, the injection. The injection's just going to make it worse. Significantly worse, because not only does it take down your TD8 cell, which is your defense to cancer, takes down your TD8 cell, and then it increases the radiation footprint because you become an antenna yourself. So you're an antenna emitting radiation back out into the field. That's how they make other people sick. So if you haven't had any and you're in a room full of these radiating antennas, then what's going to happen? Well, technologies, let's be honest, they're just technologies. They're not even human. They're definitely not man or woman. They're definitely not. They're just basically a technology that's owned by a patent that's owned by BlackRock. BlackRock and Rothschilds own patents that now own you if you've taken their poison. So you have to mitigate it. There is a protocol to mitigate this poison. I tell people to get in touch. You know who the Sun is?
I'll put your website up, actually, Mark, saveusnow.org.uk, and there's also your Facebook page, Mark G. Steele. But if anyone really wants to know more about your work and the work of Save Us Now, Sun, there's your fantastic Telegram channel, t.me/Mark Steele 5G, where there is a wealth of information about 5G, its accompanying technologies, thousands of videos, and also current up-to-date developments. It's a great channel. You get some serious trolling, though, I've noticed.
I get more trolling by the cult, World Economic Forum, the cult, and it's all quite, you've got to take your hat off to them. They're quite clever. Your local council, through this hoax climate change, which will cause climate change using stratospheric aerosol injections, ionospheric radiators, the densification of 5G in cityscapes, that increases temperature. Okay.
Have you heard of Project Satan, Mark?
Project Satan, you could call it Project Satan.
No, it's actually what they're calling the geoengineering program over there in the UK to reflect sunlight back into space because of global warming, global boiling.
Is that what they call it?
It stands for Stratospheric Aerosol Transport and Nucleation. And they're sending sulfur dioxide, hugely poisonous to humans, into the stratosphere to reflect the sun's light and warmth away from us.
Well, It's got to be in plain sight, and it is a satanic. It is a satanic cult. The people who turn a blind eye to it, they're just as bad as the ones that are doing it. Let's say any lightened guy in a local authority, they might go to church, might be a Christian, might be whatever, he might be of any faith. Okay, but what happened? He knew when they put those LEDs up without a diffuser, he should have been jumping from the rooftops. I did. I got arrested several times. They took us to court to try and gag me. Totally failed because obviously, like I said, like the judge said, I was an expert in this field. So then he said the 5G risk must be debated.
Actually, I'll play a piece from that interview from outside the courtroom in that particular case.
Answer the second question that I put to them about these transmitters being hazardous, administering noxious substance. That current classification should be a class 1 cancer-causing radiation.
And has that debate happened, Mark?
There's been no debate. They can't have a debate over it. They can't debate it. And now what's happening? We've now got all of the evidence. We've got massive increases in cancer. We've got massive increases in illness and sickness. And this is all part of the plan. See, the World Economic Forum, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. What they really mean is they will own everything, right? And you will certainly be dead. So how that works, they've basically encouraged local authorities to spend all your money on this climate, diversity, whatever it is, right? And then what they do, they get them into a load of debt. The government then make available large amounts of money so they can install more of this equipment. So let's say your LED lights, which they say you've got to get them in to save carbon dioxide. They're toxic, make people sick. Then they go, right, well, you've got to stop these cars for the clean air zones coming into cities and towns. But they put radar up that's extremely toxic and make more people sick. They then bankrupt all the small businesses in the local area. The council then become financially distressed, and the government then go, well, here's some more money, but you've got to do this or you've got to do that. Like, we've got these injection sites, so you've got to do as you're told. Here, get this into them. So all of a sudden, more people get sick. And as the more people get sick, there's more of a financial burden on the local authority. So the local authority gets more and more debt. Guess who owns the debt? You guessed it, the international banking community. So they're going to pull the plug. They're going to wait until local authorities are totally at their mercy by following their climate bullshit narrative, while at the same time, they're bringing all these technologies that make people sick, get cancer. And if you get cancer, you're not going to be too really concerned about fighting for your freedom, are you? Because you're basically worrying about dying.
Yeah, it's all consuming.
It's all consuming, and it's like the electric cars. So the electric car, they're pushing people into electric cars. So you control people with debt, get everybody into debt. Now, the fake energy cost. So we've got gas. Gas was trading at about just under $14 for 1 million British thermal units in 2008. Now it's about $2.50, so it's near 7 times less today than what it was in 2008. We've got this faked energy increase. Obviously, government's working hand in glove with energy companies and control of them. So there's no real market. They've taken away the market, so they've got this controlled fake price of energy. So the energy companies are making billions, governments are making trillions, and they're taking money out of the economy. But that then leads to what we would call inflation. So you've got increased costs in food production of goods, etc., transport. So everything goes up, and the banks then go, oh, hang on a minute. We've got these inflationary pressures. They're fake, by the way, but we've got these inflationary pressures. So what we're going to have to do now is put your interest rates up. So they put the interest rates up. So all householders are now under financial stress. We see that in the papers. I talk about it all the time. But your council, who's borrowed 300 or 400 million to keep its green agenda in play, right? Guess what? That's who they're after. They want the local authorities. Then once they control them, the local authority then come back to you and go, you know, when you were paying like $2,000 a year rates or $5,000, we need 20. oh, we need $5,000 a month because they're coming for your property. How do you suck all of that private wealth and all that private business? How do you get it out of an economy into one place? That's how you do it. And that's why your local authority was under attack, and they then passing that attack on to you. This is what's called asymmetrical warfare. See, I'm a strategic thinker, so I think strategically, and because I know what that plan is, that plan's simple. They need to take all private wealth and they've got to destroy all private industry. They've then got to depopulate, they've got to kill a lot of people. So you just look at their end goal and then strategize how they're going to do it. But it's quite simple. If you make people sick, and we've seen massive increases in cancer, and not only that, your directors for public health right across the world are conspiring to keep this information from you. The information's not there. They're not publicly going, we've got this epidemic in cancers, what we're going to do about it, because they're already controlled by the financial sort of financial governance by higher up, where the British government made 56 billion available to local authorities so that they could install green technologies. And those green technologies don't work. PV farms don't work in the summer. Definitely don't work when you spray them with stratospheric aerosol injections, because it coats the PV. And when you put snow on them, they don't work in the winter. You've got wind turbines that cost anything from 2 million to about 5 million, 6 million for some of these offshore installations. They're all fatiguing now and bursting into flames, so they don't work. This green thing was one total mess from the get-go, and the reason for that, it's a lot more nefarious. See, when I was in the oil and gas industry, I believed that when they were shutting in exploration, making it more difficult to produce hydrocarbons out of the North Sea, which there's lots of hydrocarbons out there, lots of peer zones all over the place. When I just believed at that time in those meetings that they were basically just controlling the production to keep the price up, which makes perfect sense. Now I know it was a lot more nefarious. This is an extermination event. The World Economic Forum want you dead, and they're going to precipitate their agenda right the way down to your local authorities so they can prosecute that kill on you.
I have to say, some will think that's dramatic language, but the reality is that everything we've been saying they were going to do, as unbelievable it sounded, they are now rolling out. I mean, they've killed millions with the needle in just the last few years, burnt cities to the ground, caused massive earthquakes, destroyed human fertility, poisoned our sky, our land, our food, our water, and it only stands to reason that what they have planned is actually far worse than anything they've already done. So surely one of the most effective pushbacks we could make would be to get rid of the 5G system and the streetlight system, because they need that, not only for control and monitoring, but as you're explaining, its planned interaction with the so-called vaccine and its role in the turbo cancer epidemic. I saw you refer to an Elsevier study actually a while ago where they said 5G should be classified as an IARC Group 1, a human carcinogen. Do you agree with that?
Electromagnetic radiation's already been classified as a 2B carcinogen by the World Health Organization. Now, if you contact your local idiots, they'll tell you, well, so are pickles.
Which ones?
Well, there's lots of them, loads of idiots that you've got in local authorities. They'll say, well, that's just a 2B, that's like pickle. But you don't put, if I put you in a pickle jar all day, every day, I'll tell you now, you'll be dead.
I'd be well preserved though. It'd be great for the aging process, I'm going to say. Okay, so the World Health Terrorist Organization says that 5G is safe. Are you saying you don't agree with their expert opinion here, Mark?
The World Health Organization is relying to pre-2011 data, like your government pre-2011, because since then there's been several. The most in-depth was the NTP 2016 to 18, cost something in the region about $26 million. They showed that electromagnetic radiation causes cancer. period. The Ramzini study, cancer. The study you're referring to was a military, a defence industry document where they studied troops on the battle space where they're being exposed to radar. The same radar that your local authority wants to put into your ultra low emission zone so they can scan your vehicle. They have to remember there was a World Health Organization study done many years ago where police officers were firing radar guns at vehicles. The radar was bouncing off the vehicle, coming back and hitting the copper, and they were getting cancer. So they had to stop them doing it. They've just put that same radar technology, more powerful radar technology, into all of your streets in London, into all of your towns, your villages. They're uninsurable for harm. This is dangerous technology, absolutely lethal. People talk about privacy. We've got all these Big Brother watch and all these organizations talk about privacy. What about people's detrimental health? And it's not, I'm not saying that. The epidemiological data confirms what I said. This causes cancer. It's got massive cancer rates, but there's a financial element to this. The World Economic Forum want to bankrupt your local authorities to take away all of their ability, their power.
Right.
It's a trap. It's a total trap.
Right.
So everything they're doing, all of these agendas that are running to, it's all to destroy. It's all to destroy.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for that excellent breakdown. It's a great explanation. I remember reading all the reports, of councils under strain, and then I watched as the reports went from 1 in 10 councils are in trouble to 1 in 5 councils are in dire straits, and now they're declaring bankruptcy all over the show. By design, absolutely all by design.
Things are bad
here in New Zealand in that regard too. Our councils are being driven to the brink too, through the COVID scam, of course, but also through water reforms, LGBTQ rubbish, through geoengineered weather disasters, which are seeing councils forced
to have to rake in enormous amounts of money from ratepayers.
Through money being absolutely poured into Māori affairs, wholesale immigration. They are coming from every angle to destroy our nation financially. We're being told we need to forfeit essential services to finance the green tech lie. It's incredible. Enormous rate hikes here, as you said, of course. There was a press release actually a little while ago saying that New Zealand's going to have to come up with $1 trillion over the next 30 years to future-proof ourselves against climate change. Absolute extortion of the people based on a lie. And all around the world, governments are declaring that they won't be bailing out their local councils. There's a real pattern of this being said. Well, yeah, because as you explained so well, they're coming for our property. That's the bailout. Or if they do agree to lend, it's with strict conditions attached to garner our council's utter obedience, utter subjugation to the globalist agenda. Through the ESGs, total compliance with the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm sure it's all going to play into the herding of the masses into 15-minute cities somehow. And the globalist organisations coming to the rescue. But that then will lead to further bondage to those corrupt terrorist organisations, further empowering them to enact their depopulation and control agendas. Much of the world's financial crippling was inflicted through the COVID scam, as we know. Our government too declared here in New Zealand in 2020 alone that it designated a extra 52 billion to the COVID response just for that half a year. I mean, I don't know how much more since then, but they'll be able to blame that expense for not being able to help out. And it's not only the COVID drain, they've got lots of other drains in place. The World Bank's declared it wants another 486 billion
for Ukraine over the next decade.
And as you said, there's the ongoing sustainability scam, the requirement that councils, schools, universities, business, corporations, everyone, just regular homeowners, vehicle owners, everyone, are forced to invest well beyond their means
in green technology and sustainability tech.
And of course, there's the fraudulent Indigenous peoples' narratives being inflicted on nations all over the world to deliberately drain their finances, to break them. It's a ridiculous amount being spent on gender inclusion programs as well. Yeah, it's just all to destroy, all to break us socially and financially. They are a bunch of criminal, murderous, paedophilic thieves. We best wake up and push back now. That's all I can say. But if I may steer us back to the 5G issue, I've been reading a book called Dr. Mary's Monkey recently, the fascinating story of Dr. Mary Sherman, who was hired by the US government back in the early 60s to conduct work in a secret laboratory in New Orleans with cancer-causing monkey viruses, mutated animal cell lines. It was work that culminated in the creation of a recombinant turbocancer weapon, one that killed its victims with turbocancer in a matter of days, weeks. It involved a process of injecting the victim, lab animals, of course, with these mutated animal cell lines, such as what's been found in the fake vaccine, as well as other ingredients also found in the fake vaccine, and then exposing those victims to 5G level radiation, the levels that are actually in our environments today, as an accelerant, causing what we now know as turbocancer. There's no indication that Dr. Mary or her team had any idea that this was anything outside of research to help humanity somehow. But she apparently started to speak up about her concerns that the work could fall into the wrong hands. And so did her associate, Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald, who was also becoming similarly concerned, as were others in the team. And very soon after that, Dr. Mary and those other key figures, including Lee Harvey Oswald, were all dead and under very strange and suspicious circumstances. And it appears that the technology was then stolen by the CIA. It's fascinating. If anyone wants to read about it, Ed Haslam wrote a great book in 2015. It provides strong evidence to suggest that it was indeed the CIA who engineered their murders and basically stole this turbocancer technology. In fact, I'll read a little bit of the book's description because it's quite incredible. Following a trail of police records, FBI files, cancer statistics, and medical journals, this revealing book presents evidence of a web of medical secret-keeping that began with the handling of evidence in the JFK assassination and continued apace, sweeping doctors into cover-ups of cancer outbreaks, contaminated polio vaccine, the arrival of the AIDS virus, and biological weapon research using infected monkeys. And if we have a read of the back of the book, it touches on the contamination of polio vaccines with cancer-causing animal cell lines, the desperate and covert diversion of an anti-cancer vaccine, the connection with AIDS, and how the grisly murder of Dr. Mary Sherman was a chilling warning to stay away from what the US government had planned for humanity in regards to cancer. No wonder they prohibited ivermectin, a medicine that won a Nobel Prize for its efficacy against cancer and its safety in humans. It certainly appears that cancer has been a pharmaceutically introduced population control mechanism for much longer than we may be aware. But this whole recombinant turbocancer weapon, incorporating the new 5G system, has scaled up the effects of that weapon to a devastating level. After reading this book, it certainly looks to me, anyway, that we have just seen the worldwide application of this recombinant turbocancer weapon in the last few years, with the partnership of the external 5G towers as the radiation source and the internal fake vaccine, including those mutated animal cell lines. And how can we ignore the fact that this fake vaccine was, of course, conveniently rolled out right after the trigger or catalyst system of the 5G network was installed? I mean, what a coincidence, right?
5G was always the trigger, but it's the 5G LED that's one of the main triggers. And how the trigger it?
Optical radiation.
A lot of the PCR tests, people were given these, there was carbon nanotubes in the PCR test that have been deposited in the nasal passage, which travel across the blood-brain barrier, and I can activate them at 450 nanometers frequency. Right. And the LED lights themselves specifically in and around the 450 nanometers frequency, which tells you that's what they're going to use to trigger these neural link type technologies. And we don't know what the payload is in the carbon nanotube, but I can tell you they are pretty problematic.
Yeah. I, for one, don't think people realize the danger of these nasal swab tests or the PCR tests, or actually any product containing nanoparticles, actually, like the aerosol nano sprays. There's plenty of information and evidence telling us that nasal swabs and aerosol nanosprays are being promoted as the breakthrough new way to get vaccines into the non-compliant reducing the fear factor and all that, because they don't require needles or qualified practitioners and they're cheaper and all that. But they haven't revealed what's in the jab. They didn't reveal what's really on the nasal swabs. So how do we know that these nano sprays or nano mists, like the popular magic dicol, is safe? These trendy nano sprays are brand new and are being pushed hard at the moment. I think we should be very cautious of them. We don't know who the owners of these companies are. Well, Magic Dicols is a crook, done for health scams before. Got a prohibition order against him in Australia. But we don't know what's in the sprays, whether we can trust them to cross our blood-brain barriers, for goodness sake. Any nanoparticle, a nanocarrier's purpose is ultimately to deliver a payload, because they're a delivery system. And that's why they always tell you to spray them under your tongue, because that's the most effective place for that product to get into your bloodstream and reach your brain quickly. It's dangerous. Nanoparticulate carriers have been shown to be on the tips of these PCR nasal swabs. They don't deny it. They claim they're carrying biosensors to help diagnose. But like you're explaining, these metallic nanoparticulate carbon nanotube structures just happen to be activated at the same 450 nanometer frequency as what our new LED streetlights emit. The streetlights that just happen to have been installed all over the world right after getting everyone jabbed up. The timing of that installation, like with the 5G towers before the jab, it's pretty hard to ignore.
It's nanoparticulates cause sterilization, cancer, and death.
Yes.
So consequently, I'm concerned about this technological play. So I was involved in that. I've been involved in directional weapon systems, which is, you talk about serendipitous. I remember there was a cyber security intelligence officer contacted me from the US. And she asked us a question. She said, look, we know that this 5G thing. Can you just explain what these are? Because as far as we're concerned, we've never seen antennas like this before. So anyway, I'm looking at this thing that's hanging on a telegraph pole, and it was one of my inventions for a carbon cracker, where I was basically putting these radiators inside a flue where I could cause, at a certain part of the spectrum, where modulated frequency, I can break the covalent bond. So I'd invented this piece of kit, and anyway, it's hanging on the telegraph pole in America. And then I go, oh, hang on a minute, that's very much like the design, my invention. Anyway, I already knew about the free part of the spectrum that was being allocated for 5G, which was 60 gigahertz. Now, if I put 60 gigahertz in a radiator and I'm pumping it, I'm causing a temperature because I'm going to suck the air through the top of the radiator. Now, if I've got that at ground level, I'm going to pull a lot of oxygen atoms out of the top of that radiator because I'm going to break the O2 molecule. Those oxygen atoms are then going to recombine with O2 in the lower environment, causes O3, and O3 will kill all biological life at 50 parts per million. So they are trying to kill you. It's in all the intelligence documents, this massive depopulation issue. So people need to get active. It's no good just sitting back. Anybody sitting back, you're as complicit as the people who are perpetrating this crime. And you've got to remember, they're very, very small. I mean, an infinitesimally small number of people who are orchestrating this against you. All you've got a load of do-as-you told merchants going along and just doing it. It's like the local authorities. You've got local authorities bringing in these absolutely insane ultra low emission zones, all this insanity to destroy businesses where they're going to lose more money, then they're going to be more dependent on the globalist financial system. We've got to start removing them out of office now. While we've got the opportunity, because if we don't, what's going to happen? They're going to bring in the WHO, force more vaccines. I mean, the CDC have just produced a document. There's been a 13,200% increase in heart problems of the vaccinated. This is the vaccine that was safe and effective. This is CDC's own document. They've also said there's been 133 times increase in myocarditis in vaccinated people. And this is all part of making people more sick and making local authorities more dependent on loans from international bankers so that they can then shut them down because they're coming for your property. They've already falsified the interest rate. You've got the international banks baking an interest rate on the back of a fabricated energy cost. It's like that, they're coming in from all sides. This is what's called asymmetrical warfare, and nobody's going to tell you the truth. And this is going to impact local authorities. We need to start deleveraging ourselves out of their system before it breaks you. People have to start getting that. Unfortunately, what's actually happened, we've ended up with some very, very dim people, right? I mean, not bad people. We're just talking about people who are going along with this bullshit narrative. We need to either bring it to their attention so they can stop doing it, because all they're doing is their ignorance, their willful ignorance, right? And their arrogance is going to get you. It's going to get you dead, but it's also going to kill them. You see, these are the people who push the PC, or I knew, because obviously I've got the intelligence documents to show that they're planning this mass coup, right? And unfortunately, these people just can't get their head round why would the government want you dead? Well, the government want you dead because they've done it before. We've had these clear outs in the past. Pol Pot, what happened in Russia,
Spanish flu,
what happened during the Second World War. We've had these massive clear outs in the past. So anybody that tells me that the government's got your best interest at heart, you've got mental health problems.
Yeah.
And, if you believe what they say, you've got to remember, governments bring experts to court cases to tell you that they know what they're doing. They're very clever, these experts, these so-called scientists, but they got it wrong about asbestos. They got it wrong about thalidomide. They got it wrong about the contaminated blood products, got it wrong about asbestos, got it wrong about weapons of mass destruction. How many times do they have to get it wrong? Well, this time they've got it wrong, but you're going to end up dead. They're going to end up bankrupting you and have you dead if we don't stop them. So it's really important people get involved and get organized. I mean, there's absolutely millions of us. There's massive numbers of people now understanding something's not right. I say to people, look, if you're being vaccinated, you're a victim. You get a neodymium magnet. It's very heavy. It's really heavy. It's a bit like gold, very heavy. On the bare arm, bare shoulder. So you rub it around that side. They're normally injected in the deltoid. There's a north and south. Right, flip it round and if you get an attachment, you've been injected with a target acquisition part of the equipment.
I'm just going to play a quick video of you running some neodymium tests.
See that? COVID-19, graphite ferrous oxide antennas injected illegally, unlawfully, to track people with 5G network.
Thank you, government. That's it. And then you see, right, so you see if there was any skin tension, it would break away straight away, all right? So that's the graphite ferrous oxide antenna.
Can you feel that pulling when he puts it on?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, because it's pulling on the metal that's in your arm.
Yeah. It's got a proper hard.
Yeah.
It's got a proper
hard. Do you do the other side as well, Mark?
Got a hold of that one. They're normally in the deltoid. In around that area, so I'll not.
It was hurting for weeks and all,
Aye, well, that's roughly where they get it. Yeah.
Can you feel that? Can you feel that pull?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
It's got a proper hold. It's got a proper hold.
So that's sticking, as you can see, magnet sticking, and that means that's a nanometer antenna that's been illegally injected into your arm, alright? And that is a crime with medical backing. So you weren't aware, no one told you they were going to shoot you with a nanometer antenna. You can see, that's sticking, that's a magnet. We can help you, brother, get £120,000.
So what you're saying, Mark, is that these metallic nanoparticulates operate as a antenna of a kind, like a receiver.
So basically the antenna, it's a receiver, but it allows me to shoot you to cause an atonic seizure so I can kill you. I can track you, I can hear you, but you've got to remember, it will reduce your life expectancy. If you've allowed your children to get it, it sterilizes them. And also, you've just deemed them to develop cancer and death in a very young age. Nanoparticulates are toxic to life. Now, the fact that they're stable, if it's stable in this area, we could possibly get it surgically removed, okay? There's possibly ways that these magnets can remove them as well. And there is other ways. There's a protocol at the Save Us Now. That's what that stands for. The Save Us Now website. Get involved. Get organised locally. 10 Downing Street, they had the information. They had a party. They knew it was a hoax. That's the difference. Now you know it's a hoax. You're being totally had. They've tried to destroy your life, and they are going to continue. They're not stopping now. They're not stopping. In fact, if anything, they're accelerating. They're going to come back with this climate lockdown. This lockdown. The defence industry have got full control of your climate by 2025. I've got the documents. So what's your local authority talking about? Climate change. What's all this bullshit about? If the defence industry have got total control, what are you talking about? I can rain on you, snow on you. I can set fire to your cities. These ionospheric radiators, I can focus them down. I can burn them out. I can cause earthquakes. New Zealand had massive earthquakes. Right, that was the switch on of a weapon that was actually in the South Atlantic. Right, it was the switch on of a piece of kit. Right, in the South Atlantic that caused earthquakes in New Zealand.
We covered that, yeah, actually at Counterspin. We talked to the whistleblower on that, Eric Hecker. The episode's called Christchurch Quake 2011: Active War or Friendly Fire, available on the Counterspin channel on Infowars band.video. But actually, while I have you, I wouldn't mind asking your opinion on something to do with that. You see, we had the Orion ship in Christchurch waters on that same day, which had a world-class seismic generating facility on it. Do you think there's any way that a ship could be used in conjunction with the iceberg neutrino in Antarctica, like, even as a geolocator of some kind? I've heard also that the Orion may have had a magnetohydrodynamic pulse generator on board, which is capable of stimulating massive earthquakes. I mean, we've had seismic ships at almost all of our major earthquakes, funnily enough, and they seem to also be used to steer storms with airlift waves. So do you think there's any way a ship could be used in conjunction with the neutrino?
Without a doubt, yeah. A lot of this stuff's interconnected, and you see a lot of the scientists working on it don't know.
That's right.
The technology that I found in the streetlights in Gateshead. Now, the guys that are building the tech, they told us to track autonomous vehicles. Okay, so you need a beam. So you've got a mesh network, so you blanket coverage the whole area, so you get an autonomous vehicle comes in, a drone from Amazon. It's got to geolocate itself locally. You can't use satellites because of the weather. The weather can be a bit iffy, yeah? You can get an electrical storm and then everything stops. So you need a localized piece of hardware that can geolocate these pieces of kit in a three-dimensional world to their destination. So these are what's called lethal autonomous weapons platforms, but they can only work when I've built out this three-dimensional mesh network, and where I've got the focality. You see, you need a lot of intel to a piece of hardware so it can geolocate itself. It's not easy. There's a lot of data. So I've got a focused antenna. So you see, when they built these directional weapons antennas and fitted them in top of the streetlights, what they said to the technology guys, we need a high data package, got to go from here to there, like all weapons programs. And I've been involved in a few. They keep them compartmentalized. So the thing I worked on early on, it was compartmentalized so that we didn't know exactly what was going on. Yeah. I'm giving people the message: get off your backside, do what you need to do. If you don't, I'm telling you now, it ain't going to be good for you, your family and friends.
So what can we do specifically, Mark?
Right, it's exactly the same. There's two elements to it. What I would suggest to people in the first instance, write your local authority and tell them you don't want to be governed by terrorists or criminals.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a document, you can get it info at. You can modify that for your local areas. Anywhere in the world it can be used. And you write to them and you tell them. Now, there's two things they're going to do. They're probably just going to ignore it and they're going to stay away from you because they know what we're saying is correct. Okay? So what we do to bring this into the public's attention, we're back invoiced them from 2019 when they went full rogue. They went full net zero on you. They went climate emergency net zero on you in 2019. They also facilitated a medical experiment which was in breach of the Nuremberg Code, basically a biochemical weapons program. We can prove all that. So you send them an invoice, and from the money that you've paid them in the past, whether it be your rates or whatever, and then you put them into the small claims court to get them to pay. Now, the reason for that is because they're then going to have to defend that in a court. Do you see what I'm saying? They've got to then bring in the evidence. You're saying you can't fund them because under the terrorism laws, it is illegal to fund domestic or international terrorism. That means when any bailiff comes knocking on your door for your council tax, you can ring the police because they're putting you into fear to fund a terrorist agenda. The World Economic Forum or a global international terrorist organization, fact. We can prove that. We can prove climate change is a hoax. We can prove what causes it because we know the mechanism, how they're creating the earthquakes, these are all things that can be argued out in a court. So it's a problem because that judge, when you go into that court and you pull out your near-dear magnets, if you're a victim and you go, well, what was this? The judges had it. The barrister on the other side's had it. Did he want to die?
Starts to come out, yeah. Yeah, starts to get exposed.
The other element is building an evidential pack, which you can go to, let's say, the Telegraph. The Telegraph in the United Kingdom said Operation Fear. So you were under Operation Fear. It was a globalist agenda to put you into fear, alarm, and distress. That's classed as terrorism. They're indictable crimes. So there is an imperative that would stop these criminals now before more children, more people die, more people get sick. As every day goes by, we keep allowing these criminals to do what they're doing through they're getting financial gain. It's a deception. They're perpetrating fraud and deception against you to get money through deception and fraud for you to fund your own extermination. We've got all these elements. We've got all the documents, got all the elements, got all the science. And what happens, you can then make sure that things happen more quickly instead of them just running for the hills. I've spoken to people now, and the coppers, they've said to coppers, well, if you don't do your job, we'll have to. And the coppers saying, crack on, do it. See, they've got to get it from the top of the shit pile, right? They're not going to do it. So when we start doing it, we start doing it in numbers, what they're going to do? Take you to court to prove that you're right.
Exactly. And we're legally allowed to do that, to use force to prevent escape and not be held criminally responsible, even if they're released.
Section 3, the criminal justice system, you're entitled to arrest, you're entitled to hold, and you're entitled to uphold the law. They cannot turn that round. And you also have what's called Section 3, the criminal justice system in the UK, self-defence. Yeah. So if they go, oh, well, you've arrested him, you go, hang on a minute, I tried to kill him. In 2018, I didn't have the body count. Got it now. Mm-hmm. I can't hide the bodies. The bodies are mounting, the bodies are piling up like this, right? And you've got your directors for public health. They're all criminals because they're all conspiring to keep this information from you. There's a national medical emergency in every Western country in the world. So then what happened? You'll probably get arrested, and then there's going to be a court case, and they're going to have to bring in that court case. And that same judge, remember, that judge, does he want to die?
Probably not.
Even if he's a cult, let's say he's a predatory paedophile cult member, right? And I go, they've injected people with these nanoparticulate receivers. We've got Matt Hancock's admitted in a WhatsApp post. Here it is. Here, if you've got a victim who's doing the arrests. He goes like this. They've injected me with this. He shows the whole jury. Can you imagine? I mean, it'll be a total and absolute.
It's got to start somewhere. We have to take action, and right now we're all just talking about it. I mean, let's face it. But the reality is that our children's future is going to be a very dystopian one. That's if they have one at all. One of mandated poison jabs, food shortages, transhumanism, weather as a weapon, imprisonment and concentration camp-style zones, if we don't do something and do it soon. We've been sharing information, But clearly they don't care that we know and that we're talking about it. They can control the spread of our talk, monitor it, make sure it stays within our own echo chamber. They own the internet. They can censor us with the push of a button. So while sharing the knowledge is still hugely important and we must continue doing it, we also have to do something beyond talking about it as well.
When people get the knowledge, it empowers them because you've got nothing to lose.
So we need to do it en masse.
En masse, yeah. Your people in the local authority don't know. They don't want to die. Your chief executive at your local council doesn't want to die. I mean, you might get some cult member who's just basically thick, right? Who might want to die when you find out what they're being done with children. But they're going to be in the minority. The vast majority of people in there don't know. Some will, some won't. Understand the law first. I mean, it's like this girl I spoke to the other day, right? She's been arrested, spent 18 months in a prison, right? The guy she was with got 12 years. And this is because they're not able, they haven't got the knowledge. You see, I would use, if somebody's trying to murder you, you've got a defence in law, understanding that and understanding the technicalities. So I think spending a couple of weeks on understanding the technology that they're bringing to kill you, right, is going to be an extremely important thing, because what you don't want to do is get arrested for breaking the law. Now, understand the law. Like I said, Section 3, we're all entitled to self-defence. And they're trying to murder you.
Yep. And the streetlight problem, Mark, have you got any ideas what we can do with that?
Right. Well, what I was going to say to people, right, is get a campaign up, get black polythene bags and start covering them up, because they're dangerous. And obviously, it's a pain in the arse for the local authority. I mean, there's a guy lived across from me. He just opened the box, smashed all the internals, backfilled them with concrete.
Nice.
And then it cost £6,000 or £7,000 for every single, because I had to dig them up, I had to dig the lamp up, I had to get people in. It was a total nightmare for them. Number of cities, large cities around the UK have got these small micro antenna network weapons in, all interconnected with what's in the shot. And it's basically so they can cause you a tonic seizure in the fullness of time. I seen a video the other day, the Estina guys put it up. There's a DJ there, stand talking to people, rapping. The next minute, boom, and you can see he gets hit. You can see moves like that. Same as what was shown in Wuhan. They were testing the kit in Wuhan.
It wasn't some fictional coronavirus doing that to those people.
No.
It's crazy to think that a coronavirus would do that.
You take that legs from under them. You cause what's called an atonic seizure. You switch them off.
It's horrible. It's shocking to watch how hard they fall. And you know those horrible seizures that we've been seeing since the jab, where they look over their shoulder and they start spinning? Do you have any ideas what that's about?
Right. Radiation comes at you in that, because you've got the electrical and magnetic fields, more like a corkscrew. So you've got this corkscrew emission coming at them. Not if they've been linked up with a neural link, they start, because obviously it's going to come up from above you somewhere. You look up like that and you start spinning and then boom, dead.
It is like they're following a corkscrew. It's absolutely horrifying to watch. So this is what you're referring to by atonic seizure. It's not like, anything we've really seen before. This was not happening before, and as far as I know, most people who have these don't actually make it. They don't survive. It's so severe that it just takes them out in seconds. It's been widely reported, but hugely censored on the internet, with the videos often disappearing very quickly after they're posted. But from what I've been able to find out, it's usually the first time that they've even had a seizure. These are not people who even suffer with epilepsy and sudden death syndrome. I mean, are you kidding me? This is not any kind of illness. This is not a health thing. This is a sudden external attack, something that we can't see, but they appear to be able to see, can definitely feel, something strong enough to kill in seconds invisibly. Your account of the radiation spiral from above makes absolute sense, especially when it seems to come in often from above the right shoulder, which is usually where people get the jab. This is a high-tech murder by an invisible killer, a coronavirus. All I can say is we better rise up. People better start standing the hell up and waking up to the fact that there is far more of us than there is of them, and deal with the sick creatures perpetrating this on humanity. It's just getting people to come together to actually do something. That's the hard part. But you've given us some great ideas here today, Mark.
They will come eventually, Samantha. I don't think they'll have a choice. They're going to force them out at gas boilers. They're going to stop them traveling on aircraft. So only the super rich who can afford their Learjets, there'll be no passenger transportation, too busy using them for chemtrails. There'll be no passenger transportation. There's going to be no ports. There's no shipping. There'll be very few people left, by the way. By the time these globalist cult members are finished, there'll be very few people left, and most people won't have a business. So anybody out there who's a businessman or who understands the strategic plans that the World Economic Forum have, I suggest look in the Great Reset, do your research and understand what's coming, because they're coming for you. They're coming for your business, and they're coming to kill you and your family, because they're going to force, they'll come up with some of that bullshit virus hoax, and the next minute they're going to inject you again, and the next time it's probably going to kill you.
Yep. And if we don't comply with that, they want to force us through withholding food and shelter, you know.
Starve you. They're going to starve you into a position. They're trying to shut down the farms to control the food. So all the food's noxious coming out of factories, all manufactured poisons where they're going to shape anything natural. They're removing it. They're bringing this totally unnatural foodstuffs, etc. It's going to get worse. We've got to get them stopped.
Yeah.
We have the right to stop a greater evil in any way that we can. And we're now seeing this massive evil agenda rolling out. So we've got to get it stopped. We've got to do it any way we can. Can you imagine if we had the resources like what George Soros puts into BLM? We'd have it stopped in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
They've got a long way to go, and we are far too early. And that's why we've got to raise our resistance. We've got to raise our vibration and be like lions.
Yes.
And the only way you're going to be like that, right, is by getting the knowledge. Getting the knowledge, and then it takes off. You're not worried about your job. You're not bothered about your property. They're coming to kill you. Just remember, that's their agenda. Once you understand that, they'll come for your money. I mean, look at the people who've got, resources. The amount of people who are sitting there, they've got the most to lose and they're doing the least. And the people that are doing the most are the people with the least. And if those people who had the least had their resources, would have had this stopped. If people haven't got the bottle to do it, just fund people that do. Support people that do. Get leaflets made. Do something on the side. If you want to be in the shadows, just try and help people out so we're doing the right thing.
Your money won't be any good sitting in your pocket if we don't get this thing stopped. Yeah. Well, anyway, Mark, I'm afraid we have to wrap it up. But before we go, I just want to say your dedication to the work, your knowledge, your energy, your conviction, it's fantastic. Thank you so much for giving me this time today. It's been wonderful talking with you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
See
God
ya.
bless you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.